Today we are talking about monitoring for filmmaking and how wearable displays like these could change everything. And does it work? Hell yeah, it's actually pretty amazing. Wouldn't it be great to have a really large monitor that floats beside you and follows you around? Or a half-transparent display in front of you so you can finally have a good image in the right place while operating a gimbal? A virtual display that you could just put in the place where you need it would be a game changer for filmmakers. We set out to create a solution that does just that by using ordinary wearable displays, with surprisingly good results.
So the idea is to wear productivity glasses like these and to have them connected with a DJI Transmission or any other wireless image transfer, and to use this as your monitor. And it's a quite unique experience because if you have never ever seen it before, it is quite amazing. It actually works.
And you don't just have to take our word for it. We showed the system to professionals from the filmmaking industry and everyone had the same first impression.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Wow.
Not being designed for the purpose, there's surely a lot to improve. So we conceptualized how an ideal monitor solution for the future would look, and by doing that, we found a totally innovative way for crews to work in a collaborative way. Besides the futuristic approach, we are looking into a variety of conservative monitors we have been using for a job and discuss what is really important for a monitor and how it can improve your work. This episode is kindly sponsored by Portkeys, and they gave us two of their interesting monitor solutions to check out for you. The MT21DS, a feature-rich 21.5-inch field monitor that we used intensively over the past month, and their BM5IV, a solid 5-inch monitoring solution with really good user interface. If people ask me what gear they need to really improve their work, it is usually not the camera or lenses, but things that improve the way you work. I think monitoring has a lot of potential, and it really transformed our way of working when we started to be more serious with monitoring solutions. Getting bigger, brighter and better displays that are not a pain to use. Using SDI over HDMI or getting rid of cables where possible. All that helped a lot on production, and by that, they improved our results. Still, EVF or display, we haven't really changed the way we monitor in a fundamental way. Well, since we moved away from the optical viewfinder to electronic solutions. It was an evolution, not a revolution when it comes to an integral part of how we work as filmmakers. That made us think. Let's use the iPhone approach and reinvent monitoring by not improving our existing solutions, but to start by a concept of what an ideal monitoring solution would be. As most of us, I started my filmmaking journey after the digital revolution. Coming from mirrorless cameras, I'm very much used to focus and frame using a monitor. EVFs definitely have many advantages, primarily a much cleaner image that fills more of your field of view than when you look on a camera monitor. But being used to shoot from the hip or using gimbal, steadicams, easy rig, you name it, EVFs are never really in the right place. Except for use with a shoulder rig, of course. In this classic setup, it's really counterproductive to use a monitor as it would be too close to focus on, or in the frame when you offset it, or off-axis if you put it out of the frame. Just horrible. Is there a way to combine the best of both worlds, meaning having the large clear image of an EVF, but exactly where you need it? Maybe even completely independent from the camera itself. I thought about mounting an EVF to your head, but EVFs are quite heavy, so we require something like a helmet to carry such a rig. Also, experimenting with such rigs, I found out that seeing different images on both eyes makes you seasick almost instantly when you move the camera around. Besides, good EVFs are still very expensive. Also, they force you to see with just one eye, and that is less than ideal to start with. What could be an alternative that is cost-effective? Something like VPN drone goggles or VR headsets come to mind, but honestly, filming is a collaborative process. You need to be able to see and interact with the actors or other crew members, and you simply have to see your surrounding to not bump into obstacles, fall and break your neck, or even worse, your camera. The answer is, of course, productivity glasses like these. These are Axial Air 2 Pro, basically two OLED displays that are integrated with some other electronic features into a sunglasses design. Unlike VR headsets, they allow you to look at a displayed image and the outside world at the same time. Unlike augmented reality glasses, productivity glasses are just wearable displays that don't give you a mixed reality experience. But that's exactly what we are looking for. We are going to combine these glasses with a processing unit that adds spatial awareness to the system and therefore allows the image to be placed relative to your head's movement. And we are combining that with a DJI Transmission system, the SDR one, that will make us independent from the camera and allow us to view SDI signals without adding any more bulk to the system. We have been using our virtual monitor setup over the last few productions to see how it works in practice and to discover the possibilities. There's a huge wow effect when you try it yourself. This is Eric Yealand, a Canadian director and DOP with decades of experience in commercials, music videos and narrative work. There are few things he hasn't seen or used before, and this is really a first. I only told Eric that we want him to react to a new monitoring solution. I always start working with the gimbal, especially behind the scenes and in many other situations. When we talk about monitoring, it's never in the right place. The monitor is never in the right place. You know, when you're like here,
you're always turning like. Yeah. I do a lot of tabletop,
and if you do like this, right, that's fine. But then you go up and it's in the wrong position. Yeah. Right.
So and it's so small too.
It's way too small. You don't see. You don't even see if it hits focus or anything. Yeah. Now try this.
I'm excited. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, what a great idea. Oh, that's so cool. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Wow. What I love about this is that it's not disorienting. Like I really feel like I have the ground, I can see the world, but I can see this amazing overlay of what I'm trying to do. Right. So it's very, very, very helpful. If let's say I'm working on a tabletop thing right here and I want the image to be just above the table, then I can only have to just raise my eyes just the tiniest bit so I have a clear view of what I'm working on, and then I can see the monitor right here. This is a game changer.
And now you can walk and it stays there, right? Here Eric demonstrates how you can easily navigate through crowded studio spaces while using the system, without breaking your bones and gear. Just like Eric, we showed other members of the crew the system, and the reaction is pretty much the same each time. Wow. To be clear, all this is experimental and not something I really recommend to use for professionals. This was more about exploring the idea and getting practical experiences that would allow us to conceptualize a system that would be not only great, but revolutionary for monitoring and crew communication. Let's go a bit more into the details. We're going to start with the glasses. The Axial Air 2 Pro are wearable displays and they look a lot like ordinary Wayfarer-style sunglasses. Close enough to go stealth. Besides, the cable that connects the left temple with the device. The glasses weigh only 75 grams, they are adjustable, and you can even get prescription inserts for the displays, if you need those. It is hard to show or describe the experience of using this kind of glasses. The screens are notoriously hard to film, but thank God we are professionals and have the right gear at hand. A probe lens will do great here. The displays are micro OLEDs that are not in the glasses themselves, but in the bridge, and they are redirected by some kind of a diopter system in front of each eye. The result is a kind of a head-up display. There is a proximity sensor on the bridge and the displays are only on when you wear the glasses. We just put some gaff on the sensor so we can film the displays. Here we focus on the diopters, and when we set the lens to infinity, the OLEDs come into focus. You can even look through the image and see things that are right behind it. These OLEDs are basically the same type of displays used in mirrorless cameras or even professional EVFs. They have full HD resolution for each eye, 120 Hz refresh rate, 500 nits brightness and cover 46 degrees of the field of view. Right over the ear there are speakers built into the temples. The glasses have a built-in END. With a button on the right temple you can dim the glasses in 3 densities: light, medium and strong. The END gives you a more or less isolated experience and lets you use the glasses in even very bright environments. There is a USB-C cable that powers the glasses and also transmits the image. You can directly connect the X-Reel to phones, cables and laptops. Every USB-C port that provides an image and power. But when you do, the image of the displays will be static. To have an image that you can lock to a position and that reacts to your movement, you will need an add-on unit, the X-Reel beam, that will also allow you to connect HDMI image sources with an optional adapter. The beam also provides power to the glasses and allows you to change modes. It is basically a mini computer. As we want to get the image of the camera independent from the camera, we combine the X-Reel and beam with the DJI SDR Transmission. The receiver can connect via an HDMI cable and an HDMI to USB adapter to the beam. Now we can feed the camera into the transmitter of the DJI SDR, either an HDMI or SDI. For the latter, the SDI will serve as a cross converter. Perfect. When I first put on these glasses simply by plugging them into a laptop, I had a mixed experience. The image, or shall we say the images, are surprisingly good. They are bright, vivid and sharp. As your vision combines the images from both displays to one, the result looks actually better and larger than those of traditional EVFs. It surely beats something like an old ARRI EVF. You can easily read text that is not too small and that's not too far to the edge, where you can see some minor optical aberrations. I still can't wrap my head around how this works on an optical level, meaning that you can see the image and the room around it in focus at the same time. Even things that are right behind the displayed image. When you look at something close, let's say a monitor, you have to refocus and your eye switches between the image and the monitor. If you can focus with a mirrorless EVF, you can surely do so with these. The image is much larger and detailed and you see it with both your eyes at the same time. So what is not to like? If you plug these glasses into a device directly, the images don't react to your movement at all. And that causes almost instant nausea, at least for me. Of course, that would be an absolute no-go for our use case. The glasses have built-in gyros to measure your head's movement accurately, but they lack the processing power to alter the image accordingly. The beam adds the required processing power. You can display the image in 3 different ways. First, in follow mode. This means that the image is always right in front of you. Unlike the static view, the image reacts with a slight inertia to the head movement. This prevents nausea quite effectively. Second, body anchor mode. The image remains in a static position relative to your head, just like a real monitor would. Naturally, the image is only visible when it's inside the technically limited field of view. Third, side view mode. Here we see a smaller image, about a quarter of the maximum size, in the corner of the field of view. Otherwise, it reacts like the follow mode. Besides that, the beam also has its own app environment. It can store movies, connect to Netflix, and does a lot of other things that are not relevant for what we are doing here. We used our system during our extract production, and here you can see several major advantages. You can easily monitor in confined spaces that might also have threats for the monitor in them, like fire, heat, or moving gear, like a robot in this case. Instead of trying to get a monitor in and out, the virtual monitor is where you need it, and you can see other important ingredients to the image too, like for example a playback that shows exactly what went wrong with the last setup. I also used the system for a behind the scenes with very bright lights, which were no problem. Notoriously hard to monitor moves like a low angle are a breeze now, and you can still navigate easily as you can really see the room and the floor. Another difficult to monitor shot is a crane shot, and again it's easy with the system. Here you see that your brain just sometimes forgets that the image is following the head movement and stays in place. Practice is the answer.
Coming from there, I have no way to see the monitor. I do something like this, right? And right now, it's absolutely no problem. I can see exactly what I'm doing, and I can still look down and without any problem, whoops, without any problem, go down the ladder. And here you see what we need to improve about the system. The whole cable, that's just shite.
We haven't tried this system in a real-life project for focus pulling, but as you can see here, it works quite well, and we don't see a reason why it wouldn't. It would be important to have a camera or monitor that can deliver features like peaking through the image output. Or even better, a future version of the glasses had monitoring features like this built in, which brings us to a concept for the future. Very obviously, this is not a product for professional work yet. You can use it, but there are so many cables and devices with their own batteries in play. There is a newer version of these glasses out by now that doesn't require the beam for the follow modes, but as cameras usually don't deliver power through HDMI, you still need external power. So that doesn't improve much. On the other hand, the DJI SDR Transmission does provide power through HDMI, and that means you can plug in the extra using a small adapter you find on their website. This alone simplifies the setup a lot. The cable to some form of base device will have to remain, as you don't want to carry the weight of the batteries on your head. Still, there are a lot of ideas that could turn such a device not only into something slightly more useful, but into a game changer for film crews. Instead of the usual comm we use, we would not only share sound, but vision as well. Just imagine a film set where all the essential crew member wears a set of these. Of course, you would also need the usual micro that you can simply put up and down to talk to the crew. I would definitely leave that, as it is so learned. Imagine that the temples are equipped with proximity sensors that would allow to switch between multiple cameras. One pat, and now you see the feed of camera 3. I would put in a tiny cam on the front to allow for POV shots. Let's say someone wants to show something or needs to help to find something. He can simply activate his POV camera and broadcast their view to the crew, just like you do with your voice now. Just make really sure that you shut it down before you go to the restroom. You don't want to broadcast your junk. The POV camera would also allow the system to be operated just using gestures. You want to put your virtual monitor in another place? Simply put it there. You want to mirror it? Just turn it. Resize it. Crop it. It really doesn't stop there. With VR glasses becoming technically more sophisticated, VR features could turn this crew monitor system into something even more advanced. Think of it as an Iron Man HUD with all the relevant data for the shoot. Schedules, maps, live lens data configured to fit your position. You are looking for a crew member on a larger set? The glasses could show his position even behind a wall and show you the quickest way to wherever you have to go. You could gesture a pen and mark something in the image. Here, that dude there with a white outfit. I see his reflection in the visor. Get him out. Of course, this is all complex, and I don't expect someone to like X-Reel to develop something like it, as the audience is so tiny. But most of the required technologies are already there and in use today. Someone like maybe DJI would have to bring it together. We have a lot more ideas. Maybe just give us a call. Let's take a huge step back from a futuristic and alternative monitoring to the hard realities of professional sets and everyday life of filmmakers, where things just have to be simple and work. Let me share some of our learnings that may help you to decide what route you'd want to go down yourself. As mentioned earlier, coming from a time after the digital revolution, I'm not a great fan of EVFs, simply because I rarely shoot from the shoulder. Modern, lighter cameras allow handheld shooting, and I also use sliders, gimbals, etc., as I'm sure you do too. EVFs are not suitable for that style of shooting. The obvious solutions are on-camera monitors, and when you pull focus manually, as you should, especially when using very fast lenses, as I love, a good on-camera monitor is essential. I would recommend to use 7-inch displays unless you need a very compact setup. And I would also recommend to use one that is bright enough to be visible in sunlight without a sun hood. That would be 1000 nits or higher. These days, most monitor manufacturers are from Southeast Asia, with notable exceptions like Small HD or Atomos, which of course produce at least the components in Southeast Asia as well. So, where are the differences? Around me, there are a few monitors we have used in the past with different price ranges, build quality, specs, and features. The DJI Hybrid is a bit of the odd one out here. While the image is very good, it's very much locked into the DJI Transmission ecosystem. And if you use it in that, it's actually pretty great. But it lacks very basic features, and you need a $600 add-on just to power it externally. There are the FieldWorld monitors up there. The build quality is quite cheap with plain plastic. The image is not horrible, and 2200 nits on the 7-inch is quite respectable. The menus are meh. Touch feature is more distracting than helpful, and the 7-inch had a problem with the HDMI just after weeks of using it. The larger 10-inch has 2000 nits, but it's somewhat soft and I find it hard to judge focus with it. The OC7 up there is super bright with 3000 nits. Very nice if you plan to shoot in direct sunlight or under 12K HDMI. The build quality is so-so and it lacks touch functionality. And I have to say, the interface drives me mad. Below that is the Atomos Shogun Inferno. It's a bit dated to be relevant, but it had a great display for its time, with 1500 nits. Of course, it's a recorder too, but still, it was always way too clunky and power hungry to really live on a camera. The Small HD 702 Touch would be my favorite monitor from all the ones here. And you guessed it, it is by far the most expensive one too. It's not the brightest with 1500 nits, but sufficiently bright. It has the most pleasant image, cross-conversion from SDI to HDMI and vice versa. It has multi-touch that actually works, and there is where Small HD really shines. The interface is something you really want to work with. It's simple, intuitive, quick. Small HD is thoughtful with the details, like having a screw-in power that is close to the screw hole in the middle. That means that the cable is not totally in the way like it is on the FieldWorld 10-inch. You can tell that the designers actually worked on their displays and they improved them based on experience over years. You see, if the Small HD 702 Touch was the first monitor I ever bought, it would also be the last 7-inch monitor I've bought so far. I would have saved a lot of money, and I say that without being sponsored by Small HD. While we have some praise for Small HD, there's a huge con to mention. We have some older displays like this one and the 501 that you see here together with the Sidewinder unit as an EVF on the Alexa. The displays were finished with some kind of protein paint, at least that's how I understood it. That meant to provide grip and absorb sweat. Now, 10 years later and with normal dry storage condition, the plastic degrades. It literally turns into some disgusting goo. Besides being unusable and a sticky mess, the plastic also loses its structural integrity. It breaks, and that is a hard no-no. Now, not everybody has the budget to get a small HD, like the 702 Touch that goes for $1,800 these days. But who has a more budget-friendly alternative? From the monitors we have seen so far, Portkeys is definitely a contender. From all the Chinese manufacturers we tried so far, Portkeys' new monitors offer by far the best bang for the buck. The whole attitude they show towards their gear reminds me a lot of Small HD. Well designed, with good build quality, and a lot of great features. And almost more important, some of the monitors support their Synonym OS, a nice and intuitive touch interface that works very different to the Small HDs, but makes a lot of sense, and it's easy to work with, which is priceless. I'm happy that they agreed to sponsor this episode. They sent us the BM5IV and the MT22DS, and we're gonna test these both for you.
The BM5IV is a compact 5-inch monitor that differentiates itself from the competition with a CNC'd aluminum shell. It has a solid 2000 nits, a wider color gamut, LUT support, and you can calibrate it. There are so many features that I will not mention everything here, but I put a link to the product page in the description. It supports the just mentioned Synonym OS, which is really heaven sent if you tried some of the other contenders here. The form factor is really ideal for more compact setups, like for example on mirrorless cameras, on gimbals, or whenever a 7-inch would cause imbalance to the rig. Remember that I said I wouldn't go smaller than 7-inch to pull focus with a fast lens? Well, the image of the Portkeys is so brilliant that I had actually little problem doing exactly that when I recently tested the Panasonic S1R2. I shot a lot wide open at t1.5 and that was really doable. We were in Tromsø in Norway and that was quite an environmental challenge for the BM5IV. It was so wet and stormy that I often had huge water droplets all over the monitor, on the vent openings, simply everywhere. I was really afraid that it would give up on me, but nothing. The BM5IV took it like a champ. Here are some details I love about the BM5IV. It has a physical on-off switch. Sometimes it's the small things that make all the difference. You have multiple ways to power, including 4- and 2-pin LEMO with a wide range of voltage. A D-tap cable is included. Battery life, even on small Sony NP batteries, is quite decent. As this is the WR version of the BR5IV, it has some added wireless capabilities. Synonym OS works very well, and you have no problem to figure out which functions are available and how to use them. You have all the advanced features you would expect from a professional monitor, like waveform, vector scope, peaking, RE false color, and much more. You also have very unique features, like dual screen monitoring, meaning that you can view the same image horizontally and with a vertical crop side by side, or even 2 images from HDMI and SDI ports side by side, with horizontal and vertical mixes of all variations. You have built-in camera control for Red, Sony, Panasonic, Canon, Zcam and Blackmagic design cameras. So far I could only make out one thing that I do not like about the BM5IV. With mirrorless cameras, you often have an anamorphic D-squeeze in camera, like with the flagship Lumix S1R2. Unfortunately, the HDMI does not support the D-squeeze, so a monitor with D-squeeze function is essential. The BM5IV offers all sorts of D-squeeze options when using anamorphic lenses, like with these lower proto-zooms with the 2x squeeze. We have a test episode about those, link is in the corner. Now, there's a little problem. The image doesn't use the whole real estate of the screen after the D-squeeze. This is not Portkeys' fault, somehow Panasonic mixes in menu items that are wider. Like this, it is really hard to judge focus. We could just zoom in to solve that, but unfortunately the image retains its height and is cropped. I hope that is something that can be addressed in firmware.
Everything else is really nice and the bang for the buck is great. The BM5IV is listed with $749 on Portkeys website, and if you can live without the wireless feature, the BM5IV sells for $499. It comes with a traveling box, and by the way, I love the camera HDMI cables from Portkeys. Very thin and flexible, but still sturdy. Perfect to use with gimbals, but even for normal rigs, it's very nice.
What about larger displays? Having used TVs in studio situations, we can't really recommend doing that. While it is nice to punch in just by making a step forward to a large display, the practical negatives are massive. Besides missing even basic features like flipping or rotating the image, etc., they only provide HDMI inputs, and the size and weight makes them just unpractical to a point where you just don't want to deal with it. Half of the time you have to troubleshoot or find workarounds costing time and energy. Much better are field monitors that are designed for the job and that provide you with something that is more important than the sheer size: freedom.
Let us define field monitor here. A field monitor is a display that is rugged enough to survive shoots on location. It is transportable and has all the features you need on a film set, and that in terms of specification as well as practical aspects. The form factor and features allow you to transport them, power them from V-Log batteries, and get images from a variety of inputs while being bright enough to work in sunlight. This separates a field monitor from a broadcast monitor or reference monitor that are more suitable for use in a studio. While the color reproduction is essential for a broadcast monitor, it is secondary for a field monitor.
If you are a regular viewer of this channel, you might remember our review of the OC 21.5-inch field monitor. It has a very bright 1500 nits display, and that is a lot with large displays. We used it, for example, in our f0.3 episode, where it allowed us to pull focus with the f0.3 equivalent lens. That means impossible shallow depth of field. Try to pull this one on a small display. Situations like these are really where a large but mobile display shines. Unfortunately, that monitor gave up on us, which is not only OC's fault, as we tried to repair a broken button panel ourselves. But given the cost and effort that would have gone into sending it to China, we chose not to do it.
This is the Portkeys MT21DS, which is a really nice 21.5-inch field monitor. It is surprisingly affordable while being the most feature-rich field monitor we ever work with. With 1200 nits, it's not quite as bright as the OC, but it's much better in pretty much every other aspect. A clear setup and by far the most sophisticated field monitor that I have seen.
The Portkeys MT22DS is bright enough to work in very bright environments, even without the optional sun hood. It comes with a foldable table stand, but we replaced it with the optional VESA holder that lets you connect the monitor to a light stand and adjust the tilt. Working with the MT22DS, you immediately realize that it's loaded with great features. The MT22DS has dual V-Log plates, which makes the batteries hot swappable. It also has two male NP adapters. That means you can power devices like wireless transmitters and receivers directly through the monitor itself. You can even change the orientation to suit the device. The MT22DS doesn't have a touch panel, so the Synonym OS wouldn't make much sense. But I think Portkeys gave us something better for the context: physical buttons. The front has an on-off switch and user-definable buttons that are illuminated so you can immediately tell what function is active and what source is displayed, even from a distance and in the dark. It also has a multifunctional wheel to navigate menus and dial in crops. As this display is designed to be transported and used in rough environments, there's even a small nose that keeps the wheel from being knocked off. Like mentioned, this is really thought out. On the back you find more function buttons, and as you can see them from the front, they have a roll-over feature, meaning that a pop-up appears when you touch a button, while a press activates whatever feature is assigned, like markers and grids. We really used the display extensively since December, and we are in love. One of the features we don't want to live without is one we really admired in the BM5IV, but the wheel makes it better. One of my absolute favorite features of this monitor is the image-in-image with a 16:9 and 9:16 at the same time. So especially if you have a full frame sensor, this is great because you get a crop with a full height and what you have on the sensor in 16:9 side by side. You can really see what you get if you shoot for both formats at the same time. Another great feature enabled us to realize our pyromanic visions. For our extract episode, link is in the corner, we replicated our logo with 5 cubes. To do that, you need a very specific position and distance to create the right perspective. The MT22DS makes it very easy to accomplish that. You make a screenshot or import an image to overlay it with a live feed, directly in the monitor. This allows you to match the images without effort, and there are countless other applications for that. Under the hood, the MT22DS does cross-conversion from SDI to HDMI, and it can display and output LUTs. The display itself is Full HD, user calibratable, and covers 97% of the P3 color gamut. Just to be clear, we wouldn't use this monitor for grading as you would a reference monitor like this Flanders Scientific. On the other hand, I wouldn't use a Flanders in a moist forest or close to a 12K HMI. Still, the image is good enough to give you confidence in your footage on set. And viewing angles are wide enough to have a whole crew meeting in front of it. It is large enough so you can still see what you're doing from a distance. And with batteries, wireless video and putting it on a rolling stand, it offers the freedom that we don't want to work without. That's exactly what a field monitor is about.
The use cases we showed so far were quite high-end, but that doesn't mean that the MT22DS doesn't make a lot of sense for the simpler things. I use it for my home studio all the time, like when I did the Hannibal Lecter shots for a Magic Sauce. It gives you the possibility to judge the image and your performance from a distance. It gives you a reference where to look at the same time, as if you had an assistant or a director to work with. For creators, this is priceless. And even if it's just a talkie like this, a large display gives you confidence that the image is in focus and that details you wouldn't notice on a smaller screen are okay. Like maybe you forgot an ugly marker on the floor or things like that. When you make a wide shot like this, you simply can't see a smaller display that is out of the frame. The dual aspect ratio function lets you see if your actions are in frame for your horizontal as well as your vertical content. So important these days. And the classic, you bumped into your camera and changed the framing, ruining continuity. Just play back your last take, make a screenshot, and use the overlay function to get the framing back to where it was. You can even get your actor's position and gestures close enough to make jump cuts unnoticeable if you use something like the smooth transition feature in your NLE. And all of that is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many features we haven't even discovered yet. If there is one tiny thing to complain about, if you want to power the MT22DS from the wall plug, you can't just plug it in with a normal cable. You have to use the external AC/DC power brick. I guess the very slim design has its price. Talking about price, the MT21DS is listed at $1,024 on Portkeys website. Yes, it's almost half of what the small HD Touch costs, and a fraction of what comparable field monitors cost.
As the MT22DS comes without a solution for transportation and flight cases can be just too heavy for owner-operators, we came up with this. We simply use a cheap IMAX transportation bag. It offers enough protection for the screen itself and doesn't add any significant weight. You can hang the monitor over your shoulder and just go to your next location.
I hope you found our little experiment interesting and you will hang around with us a little more. This channel is full of great adventures for filmmakers, and we always try to make it as entertaining and as educational as possible. Leave us a like if you think that we deserve one. That always helps with the algorithm. We would like to thank Portkeys for sponsoring this episode. Always remember that we couldn't create content on this level without the support of industry heroes. If you are an industry hero with an interesting product for advanced filmmaking that you would like to show to our audience in an entertaining way, let's talk. Our contact is in the description. As always, this video is made possible and is dedicated to beloved members. Thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you. This is it for today. I'm Nicholas signing out with nerdlish swishes. Shoot something amazing.